nice to be baking with Beth Tikvah again. It took me 6 months to get my act together to do a 1-hour program. We got this. Is anybody baking with me? Because that'll change my pacing a little bit. No, we're just learning and taking notes. All right, gang. We are making Sufganiot today, and I should say it is not my recipe. I am not that good. It's from Jewish by Jake Cohen. He is my favorite Jewish chef. He is all over Instagram. He's coming out with a second cookbook. And when I had a question, I fangirled because he answered it. So I think, hi, Billy. Penster. So we are going to get started. I've sent everybody their ingredient list. But no one's cooking with me, so that's fine. I'm going to start by getting everything ready for my dough. So first things first is this is a yeast-based dough. So I have 1 cup of whole milk. I'm going to heat it up to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have a thermometer, that's fine. You're literally just going to microwave it for 1 minute and 10 seconds on high, and that's going to get you exactly where you want it to be. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, meanwhile, I've got all my other ingredients here. I have melted butter that has cooled. Does it have to be whole milk? It should be whole milk. This is Hanukkah. We are not going healthy. We are going as fatty and oily and as greasy as possible. So with that said, I also have butter. Everything I have should be room temperature except for the milk. So I've also got 2 eggs that are room temperature. If you're about to—
Ellie, sorry, question. So if like we need to do it like parve because we're serving them with meat.
Water.
What's the alternative?
Water instead of milk. Warm water will still activate the yeast, and parve butter is fine.
What about oat milk or one of those, or soya milk?
I'm gonna be honest, if you don't know, I would prefer to go with water. So I have 2 eggs as well that are room temperature. If you forget to get your room temperature before cooking, you can just put them under warm water for 5 minutes and it's going to get you to the exact right temperature. That's my little tip of the day.
Well, you know I'm on.
All right, I've got my milk.
I miss you over there.
And I've got someone, I'm just going to mute someone who's chatting. So sorry. And I'm just going to quickly check the temperature of my milk. Again, I want it to be 115 degrees Fahrenheit. It was in the microwave for 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Color my nose now.
And it's perfect. So hello, I'm going to mute you. Perfect. We're at 115. That's exactly what I wanted. And so I'm going to add to this some sugar. I'm going to add 1/4 cup of sugar. And we're doing this because our yeast needs to grow and we need to feed it like a little living thing. I'm learning how to keep little living things alive. And add 1/4 cup of white sugar. We're just going to give it a whisk. I'm going to bring this down so you can see what I'm doing. I don't know where the chatting is coming from.
Yeah, I can't figure it out.
I can't find it. But my friends, if you want to just mute, and then I will answer questions if you unmute. And now to this mixture, I'm adding 1 packet of active dry yeast, which is the same as 2 1/4 teaspoons. We're not mixing it in, we're sprinkling it on top. And what we're doing is we're going to let it bloom. So that means it's just going to start working. And you're going to know that your yeast is working if after 5 to 10 minutes, it's really foamy and fragrant. If it doesn't do that, throw it out and buy some new stuff because your donuts are not going to work. Just like, don't even bother. run away, go to the store. I just have it sitting on top like this. I'm going to set it aside. While that's going on, I'm going to get everything ready for my fillings. So we want to do our fillings. We also want to do the sugar that we're going to be rolling everything in. So we are going a little funky today. We are going to do salt and pepper Sufganiot. The recipe calls for a Manischewitz Concord grape jam. Who has time to make their own jam? Like, we're already making our own Sufganiot. I'm not doing that. So I have strawberry jam because strawberry and black pepper go really nicely together. I am also going to do, for my husband, this is his Hanukkah present, a Nutella and banana Sufganiot. So
Ellie, sorry to interrupt. We have a quick question. Why didn't you mix the yeast and the milk together?
the answer is, I don't know, but you're supposed to sprinkle it on top, and that's how it gets to working. I think once, like, you don't want to force it. You want it to start blooming on its own. And then if you mix it up, you're sort of aggravating it. So we want it to just sit. So I am going to get all of my toppings and fillings ready. So for the salt and pepper Sufganiot, we are going to do half a cup of white sugar. And to that, we are going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt. Whenever we are baking, we use kosher or sea salt because table salt is way more than you think it is. Like 1 teaspoon of table salt is like a tablespoon of kosher salt. So we're doing 1 teaspoon. And we are going to do about half a teaspoon of cracked black pepper. This sounds weird, but I promise it's good.
Yeah, it does sound weird.
It does sound weird. You don't have to do this. You just have a regular old sugar situation. So just mixing that up.
How much sugar did you say?
I have half a cup here. And look, Gail, you can barely see the pepper.
That's
There's not
true.
That's like a little delicious kick. I'm also going to get a bowl ready with my icing sugar because some people like to be classic and I respect that. And in terms of filling, we are going, this is just half a cup of icing sugar. In terms of our filling, we're going to use piping bags. We'll just do a quick little tutorial on how to fill those in a way that doesn't make you completely messy.
Yeah, I was always wondering how you get the filling in.
We're going to start with our water glass, a tall water glass. I'm using piping tips. You can just snip the end of your bag and that's fine. I find a piping tip is going to give us a little more stability when we're filling. So you're going to fold the top over. You're going to fold it over your water glass. If you don't want to do this, you schlep your husband in and he holds it for you. So I'm going to put my tip in. Actually, I should do that first. I'm putting the tip in and I'm getting it all the way to the bottom. You will ultimately cut a hole here. I don't want to do that now because I don't think it's making a mess. And now I've got this nice and steady. For my jam, I'm using just a regular tip. I am using strawberry jam. Any jam will be delicious with this. If you want to make your own, God bless. I don't recommend. So I put that in, and then you're going to take the top. You're just going to squeeze it down. And then once we cut the tip, it'll go all the way to the bottom. If you have little ones and you really don't want to make a mess, I recommend putting an elastic band at the top, just to keep it from spilling out the bottom. So that's our jam. We've got that ready to go. Where'd my bags go? There they are.
Sorry, Ellie, where do you get these bags?
Great question. At Bulk Barn, you can buy them individually for like 60 cents a piece. I buy them in 12 packs, and you can get them from like Walmart, Sobeys, Michael's has them. They're actually very easy to find. I'm going to fill one with Nutella. So I'm going to be making a Nutella banana peanut butter situation. Let's use a spoon. And I'm just keeping an eye right now on my yeast. It is starting to bloom, but we're not quite there. If you can see, it's starting to foam around the edges. I want the entire thing to look fluffy and gross. Okay, so we're just going to do this again so that everyone can see again how we fill our piping bag. So I've got the edge over my cup. I've got the tip at the bottom. And if you don't have a piping bag, a really easy alternative is a Ziploc bag. And you just fill it to a corner and cut the tip off.
That's a good suggestion.
You know what? I'll do that for my final one. For my final example. Once again, once I cut to the end, I'll show you the first one isn't as messy. So I cut. Oh, now it's going to get messy just to prove me wrong. I don't cut all the way at the end of the tip. I'm going to cut halfway. So there we go. That's our second bag. So when they took the baby out of me, they also took like a little part of my brain. So if you see me confused, that's what's happening here. And I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like to fill a Ziploc bag. It's so easy. I have my giant freezer bag. I'm not even going to bother with the glass for this one. I only need a little bit of peanut butter for what I'm doing. So she says that as she brings up the comically large peanut butter from Costco. And I'm just going to fill the bag to one corner.
Ellie, it's Razy saying it says 1.4 cups of white sugar for the dough.
Yes, that is because mom brain and typos. It's a quarter cup of sugar.
Oh, okay. So it should have been a quarter, not 1.4.
Oh, okay, thank you.
About that.
Good catch, Razy.
So here we've got a tiny little piping bag made out of a Ziploc. Okay. All right, friends. So I've got my puffy yeast here. I'm going to give it just like one more minute while I crack my eggs. I'm going to crack two room temperature eggs. I'm just going to keep them in a separate bowl so that I don't risk getting shells everywhere. And now I've got everything ready to go. So when we start making our dough, we're just gonna go. So I've got my yeast mixture, which is the warm milk, the yeast, the sugar. I've got 2 room temperature eggs. I have got half a cup of butter melted. And then we are also going to add 4 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. We want all-purpose, not bread, not pastry. And we're going to do a teaspoon of salt. Let's get started. I have got my mix master here, and I'm going to fit it with the whisk attachment to start. If you don't have a mix master, you can do this by hand. You're just going to get tired.
Okay, yeah, because I don't have one of those.
Yes, you can whisk this by hand. You can knead it by hand. I get tired.
Okay.
Who wants to be more tired than they already are? So I'm going to start by adding our proofed yeast and milk. Wonderful. To that, I am adding my eggs one at a time. And I'm going to put in my melted and cooled butter. Half a cup. We're going to whisk that on medium speed until everything just comes together. Let me show you what that looks like. I don't want any rogue yolks floating around. To this, I'm going to add 4 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. When we are measuring flour, we are not just scooping and like zhuzhing off. We want to actually make sure we are doing this properly. So you can use a butter knife. I have this cute little scrapey thing. And the way that we make sure that all the air pockets in our flour are filled and we're actually measuring correctly is we overfill it. We sort of cut down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we scrape the excess off. And so that is a properly measured cup of flour. We're going to do 4 1/4 cups. Someone keep track as I do this because I will lose count. That's 1. 2. Running out of flour. 3. 'Come on, flour. I'll help myself out here. 4. And then the final 1/4 cup. And we're just going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt. I'm removing my whisk hook. And I'm adding my whisk attachment, sorry, and I'm going to add the dough hook now. So if you were doing this by hand, you would begin mixing with a wooden spoon or a spatula. Once it becomes a shaggy dough, sort of like almost together, you would empty it all out onto your countertop. You'd start kneading by hand. I'm going to start on low so that, mostly just so I don't have flour shoot up in my face. And then we're going to move up to medium and we're going to let it knead for 5 minutes. I'm going to let you see what it looks like up in here.
Is that still the low setting or did you put it higher?
This is the low setting. And once all of the flour is incorporated on the sides, that is when I'm going to put it up to medium. So this is now kneading my dough. I'm going to let that go for 5 minutes. And come on, Bubba. The end result is a smooth, elasticy dough that pulls away from the sides. It's going to be soft to the touch. And you're going to be able to form it into a nice, smooth ball really easily. Good thing. So once this is done, you are then going to take 2 tablespoons of, can you hear me or is it way too loud?
It's okay, we can hear you.
So once the 5 minutes are up, you're going to take 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. You're going to coat a bowl in it and your hands. You're going to take your ball of dough and you're going to cover it in that oil, coat it in the oil, leave it in that bowl and cover it in saran wrap or a clean kitchen towel. I don't know why you're being such a jerk right now. He's tired. Okay. It's so loud. This is so unnecessary.
No, I don't hear it.
Okay, great. Okay, fine. Then I'll keep going. Okay. So, really?
Did it stop?
It's making noise. I'm going to need while I talk because it's easier to do that than to listen to him. It's a hymn now, apparently. Okay. So once we do that, you've got some options because if you are cooking with me tonight, there is no way you want to continue doing this for the rest of the night because this will take 60 to 90 minutes to rise. And when I say rise, I mean it has to completely double in size. It will vary depending on where you are. I put mine right in front of the like a sunny window today and it rose in half an hour. If you want to speed the process along, you can turn your oven to 200, turn it off once it hits 200 and let it cool down. If you have an internal thermometer, you'd see it come to like 90 degrees. Put your bowl in there and then it's going to rise in like half the time. Another alternative, which is what I think most people would want to do if they were prepping at night, is you put it in your fridge and you let it proof in the fridge overnight. I highly recommend doing that, not only because then you can make fresh donuts in the morning when you actually want to serve them, but because yeasted dough is going to taste better the longer it ferments. So like if you ever want to make a pizza dough, my favorite pizza dough is Noreen Gillet's. It takes half an hour to make. But like good, like bubbly, delicious risen dough, that sits overnight for 24 to 48 hours. That's not overnight. It sits in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours. So that's what I would recommend doing. Once you remove it from the fridge, you do want it to come to room temperature before doing your next steps. So you wake up in the morning, you realize you want delicious Sufganiot, you're going to pull it from the fridge, you're going to pour yourself a coffee, you're going to hide from your children. And then by the time you're done your very luxurious cup of coffee, no one here has babies. Alex isn't here yet. There's one person joining this call with a baby younger than mine. So then an hour later, you will be able to move on to the next step. So this is my dough. He's beautiful. I'm going to put this overnight in my bowl. So as I said, just 2 tablespoons of oil. This is really just so it doesn't stick as it's growing. I like to make it into a really smooth ball before I put it in. There's no reason for this. I just think it looks nicer when I check on it. So I'm just going to roll it around. And I'm going to say goodnight. And then with the magic of television, we have another one ready to go. So I want to show you guys how to roll it out and how we're going to cut it. Because I feel like when people see Sufganiot, they probably assume that you're rolling a ball and you're deep frying a ball. No, no. It's going to explode. It's going to be raw in the middle. We're not playing that game. So I've got my dough here. And I'm going to flour my work surface. And we're going to roll it out to 1/2 inch thick. This is actually half the dough. You will have a lot more than this because I have more things to show you. So we're at about 1/2 inch thick. And then you're going to get that handy dandy glass from before. And you are going to make as many circles as you can. You don't really want to have to reuse the dough. You can take the scraps and fold them up together and redo it once. Any more than that, you're sort of overworking the dough, and your dough is going to look lumpy and it's going to be super dense and not easy to fill and not overly delicious. Come on, baby. So this is it. It's going to be quite thin. And now you have options again. At this point, we can let it rise on our counter for 45 minutes until it's just nice and puffy. Another alternative is to do the fridge thing if you haven't done it already. That's what I did today. Just put in the fridge overnight. Take it out. An hour later, you're ready to fry. Or, and I really like this idea because we're making this so far in advance of Hanukkah, you can now freeze these. So you can freeze them on a parchment lined pan until they're frozen, put them in a very well sealed bag. And then when you're ready to cook them, you're going to bring them out to room temperature and let them sit for 4 to 5 hours because you want them to first come to room temperature and then have their rise time. It's like when you buy the Lechner challahs. So those are all of your options for making donuts in advance. With filled donuts, I wouldn't really recommend frying them and then freezing them because there's really no good way to reheat them. Oh, except maybe an air fryer. Maybe an air fryer. Okay. Okay, so I've got my little babies. I'm going to put them on a pan to fry. I'm not reusing this dough because, as I said, I think it's going to make a really dense donut. Okay. So we've done that. And then we have these. So these I've let rise. And you know they're good when you can stick a finger and they sort of leave the indent. You actually don't want it to bounce back. So it's risen, it's puffy. We're going to get our oil ready. So I'm going to fill my pot with 2 inches of oil, which feels like a very arbitrary amount, but it's 2 inches of oil. And we want the oil to get to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. If you do not have a candy thermometer, like we said before, I'm going to show you a trick that you can do. This is without an entire bottle of oil. Fantastic. Now, when you're heating oil, you're not heating it on high. You don't want it to come to a boil. You're heating it on medium. If you find yourself in the midst of an oil fire, do not add water to it. Put a lid on. If you're too terrified of losing your eyebrows, throw flour at it. But you won't start fires. You're all professionals. You're fine. So we're going to heat those up. I am shocked that nobody here asked me if I could cook these in an air fryer.
I was going to. I was thinking it.
Okay. So I was ready for that. Okay. I have an air fryer. I love my air fryer more than I love my children because it helps me feed my children in 5 minutes or less. When it comes to Sufganiot, I feel like it's a shanda to not use oil, but I think we're going to do an experiment. We are going to try to cook it, and I'm going to see if it's gross. So I am going to put one in the air fryer. I'm going to set it at 340. I'm going to spray with a little bit of oil, and I'm going to set it for 5 minutes, and we're going to see if anything gross happens. Or maybe it's delicious, and like Jews have been crazy all this time, and we didn't need oil at all. So we're going to try this. I'm going to spray it with oil.
What kind of oil is that?
It is canola oil. We do not want to use olive oil here.
Oh, okay.
Now, again, the baby brain. It's either too high of a smoke point or too low of a smoke point. Either way, it's the wrong smoke point, and it's going to burn. It's going to make fire. So I'm going to throw this in. And I did 340 for 5 minutes.
Raisy wants to know if you use the whole bottle of that oil in the pot.
I did. I mean, it's not really a measurement of oil. I just want 2 inches worth of oil. I want a lot of oil. We're deep frying. When you are done with your oil, do not put it down the sink. My mother always said to put it down the toilet. I did that once and then it didn't flush. And then my husband was like, oh my God, what is this? So let it cool. You can reuse it for further deep frying endeavors. I worked at a restaurant and I think that you only change the oil like once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
The more you, the tastier it gets. I'm just going
But
to
then how do you
check.
dispose of it?
Then once it's cool, you can just put it in like a sealed container and throw it out.
Okay, good. Do not put it down the drain.
Not the drain, and sorry, Sue, my Susan, not the Sue who's here, not the toilet either. Okay, so I'm gonna see where we're at. I've got my candy thermometer. So if you don't have a candy thermometer, the best trick to know if your oil is ready for deep frying is to put a little bit of dough in it. And if it immediately starts bubbling, you're perfect. If it immediately starts bubbling and your dough turns black, you're way too hot. What we want is a golden brown. And you actually want, whenever you see the Sufganiot in the store, you're going to see that white line in the middle. We actually want that because that's proof that our dough has risen properly. So I'm just going to keep that there. I need about 2 minutes for it to rise. Does anyone have any questions in the meantime? Everyone knows what they're doing.
So this is like a couple day process potentially.
It's like 2.5 hours.
Or with all the overnight stuff.
If you do it overnight, I mean, that's really just for convenience. Also, hi, Alex, Mazel Tov from everybody here. For convenience, like if you, like, I like the idea if we're going to a party and I want to bring Sufganiot, I'm going to prep everything overnight. I'm going to make it fresh. Day-old Sufganiot are not delicious. All right, we're almost there. And we're 3 minutes away from our air fryer. Potentially horror show, potentially masterpiece.
Can we see what the air fryer looks like?
Yeah.
What brand do you have?
I have the Bella Pro series.
Oh, it's big.
It's big and it's amazing. I don't use my oven anymore.
Really? Okay. No, because I bought one for my daughter at university, but I don't have one for myself.
You need one, and I'm sorry, everyone. There's like a 10-day-old baby in the class.
There is?
Hey, Heidi. How you doing? Oh my gosh, so cute.
Oh, yes, there.
Oh my God, my baby's already 20 pounds. Oh my God, she's like a full-grown human. All right, we're almost there. No, I'm distracted. Hey, buddy.
Mhm.
You.
Okay.
God, I'm thinking of babies. Sorry. Yes, that is the air fryer. I cook everything in it. I've made pizza in it. You can make cookies in it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. And like the nice thing too is that because I'm not using a hot oven and it doesn't get hot on the outside, my son cooks with me now. So he
Okay.
likes to put everything in. He presses all the buttons. He learned the hard way that the inside does get hot.
Okay.
All right. We've got 1 minute left of that donut. And then we're gonna start frying. It is getting very toasty up in here. I'm heating up my I'm turning up my temperature just a little bit. Just polling the crowd. Is anybody here going to make Sufganiot after this? Yay! Okay, Orly. All right. Yay, Sandra. Okay.
Arlene, yeah. Yeah, good.
All right. If you do send me pictures, I want to see how they turn out.
Yeah.
And we're about to beep. Okay. Get rid of this ugly thing here. Nope, that was my light. No.
Okay.
The
That's
answer
not what
is
it's supposed to look like, is it?
an emphatic no. This is a disappointment.
What if you taste it? Is it raw?
It's really hot. All right, we can see if it's cooked. Oh my God, it's so hot though. That was surprising. I'm
Okay.
just gonna poke a hole. It's cooked.
Hmm.
All right, let's get some jam.
Is it possible it needed more time?
It's cooked. I just don't.
It's
It
the
just-
color that looks off.
Yeah, it's just sad. It's just not fried. It's just a bagel. All right, but I will stuff it. I'm not happy. I'm not sick, but I'm not happy. Oh, well.
Mm. Okay, so we won't follow that route.
That was our answer.
Okay.
All right. Our oil is nice and hot. We killed enough time eating bad donuts. Let's do this. So when you're putting your donuts in, I know you're probably scared of the oil. You want to drop it. Do not drop it. That is a good way to have oil splash at your face. You want to gently put it down. If you are nervous, a slotted spoon will be your friend. Perfect. See, it's got some bubbles coming around the edge. Well, you probably can't see that.
Yeah, we can see it.
We're bubbling. We don't want to overcrowd the pan. If you overcrowd the pot, you're going to start steaming your donuts. You're also going to bring the temperature of the oil down. And when you have cold oil, the result is just greasy, greasy food. So we're going to let these hang out for a minute. And I'm just going to get a plate with some paper towel on it. The paper towel is just to get the real excess of oil. We don't want to completely oil free because we want to be able to have all the sugar adhere to it. Oh, air fryer. We don't want you. So you know it's ready to turn when it turns starting to look golden brown. We're not there yet on any of these. But it's 1 to 2 minutes. Perfect. Once they're done, I'm going to blot them and then quickly bring them over to roll in our sugar mixtures. I will do 1 icing sugar and I will do 1 salt and pepper. Sugar, salt, and pepper for anyone who missed the beginning. Do we flip them? Yes, Barbara, we're going to flip them once they're nice and golden. Like this one right here. All right. See, like this is what a donut should look like. Alrighty. Guys, this is dinner. This is not a healthy day. But I'm excited. There's jam. Jam is fruit, so that's sufficient. Okay. So it's about another minute on each side. So really, once you start frying them, it's a 4-minute process.
Sandra wants to know, can you then use the same oil for the second batch of donuts?
Exactly. In fact, you might you'll want to give it a minute to come back to temperature anyway. Because once you put the dough in, we brought the
And so how do you know that that's not raw inside?
we pray.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, if it turned dark too quickly, that would tell me that the outside is getting cooked and the inside is raw. Because we took our time and it's a nice golden color, we know that we cooked it through. And it's not, remember, they're only an inch thick or half an inch thick. So it's not a lot of dough to cook. That's why you don't want to roll them up into giant balls. Let's start decorating delicious. What are these
So
called?
do you have to wait till that cools, or you can?
So if you've worked in the kitchen long enough, you don't have fingerprints anymore. So I'm just gonna go for it, but you should probably let it cool a little bit. This is the sugar, salt, and pepper. I am going to roll him in there. I'm going to poke a hole in the top. And I'm going to get my strawberry jam.
Oh, that's the secret.
There's one. And I'm going to do a fancy one for my husband because sometimes I'm nice. So this one's going into the powdered sugar. It's going to get a poke in the top. Nutella. And let's make it extra fancy. Going whipped cream. We're going to add a banana. Evan, would you like a donut?
Yeah, I want to see him eat it.
Evan. He's running.
Did I hear donut?
You heard donut.
What happened to the peanut butter?
Oh, it's coming, Gail.
Oh.
Oh, it's already snipped. Oh, you're sliding off.
Holy moly.
Holy moly. People want to see you eat it.
That's a meal in itself.
All right, your taste testing. Here's your Nutella, banana.
Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Evan.
Hey, everyone. I'm very excited.
Oh, you want some of
I
it?
want some banana. It's still going to be good. Yeah, that comes as advertised. That's fantastic.
Okay, now we're all jealous.
Wait, compare. This is salt and pepper and strawberry.
Boy, I'm spoiled.
Messy.
They are messy, but they are delicious.
Okay.
Do you taste the pepper?
It's a great question. I do a little bit.
Do you like it?
I do.
Ah.
Good. Well, I'm very happy, but I'm going to get off camera because I'm messy, but they are delicious. Go ahead.
Have oh my God, there's so much jam on the floor. I am going to keep filling these, and this is our dinner, but if anyone has any questions.
Sandra has a question. How do you make this vegan?
Okay, such a good question. The
That's
issue,
hard.
yeah, the issue with this is the eggs. So you could make an egg substitute, which is, I believe, a tablespoon of flaxseed and water, and you turn it into a paste. That's for each egg. I don't know how it would rise. but you do have the yeast. So I think it'll really just affect the flavor and the texture. You might have a bit of a denser donut. And then instead of the milk, we're using the water, and you can use the par of butter.
Mhm. And gluten-free?
Gluten-free, again, so a big thing about making dough is the gluten content. Like,
Mhm.
and so that's why I said specifically that we're using all-purpose flour instead of, cake flour or bread flour, which has a higher gluten
Mm.
count. I don't know the word I want. So that would have to be an experiment with your favorite gluten-free flours. But like I don't like a chickpea flour is not going to give you what you want. You're going to have to go for like the old red mill gluten-free flour.
Okay. Okay.
Does anyone else have any other questions while I just keep frying up donuts?
Ellie, how many does that batch make?
This batch will make, I'm going to cool this down. This batch makes 15 donuts.
Oh, 15. Okay. Oh,
Sue
Sue
asked-
has a question? Where's Sue's question? Oh, what are you using to poke the donut?
do you need to what?
Oh, what did you, wasn't it like a big toothpick thing? What was that?
Yeah, so I used a toothpick to poke a hole, but I really didn't need it. If you have an icing tip, Evan, that's the smoke detector. 1 second.
Oh, from the oil? We can't hear it.
Okay, I muted. But if you have the icing tip, that should be sufficient to actually poke the hole because the dough is nice and soft. I let the oil.
You said, so how long, ideally this should be eaten the day that you make it, or even like quickly afterwards. But how
Right.
long does this last? Because who can eat 15 donuts?
It's for a party. I would eat it honestly within 2 days.
Okay.
If you wanted to reheat it, I wouldn't roll it in the sugar until the day that you want to heat it, because once you heat it, it's going to make it look blechy. So what I would do is make the donuts. Oh, but you want to like make them and then
No, yeah, like let's say you have leftovers, like how long is that going to last?
if you put it in a sealed container on your countertop, 3 days.
Oh.
You can do a week in the fridge, but it's going to get a little stale.
Hard?
It's always
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's my recommendation.
Frida had a suggestion that maybe we can use a chopstick to poke a hole. Yeah, it looked like a chopstick. It did look like a chopstick that you used.
Not, yeah, anything like a paring knife is also fine.
I just want to, oh, Barbara has a question. Oh,
Yeah.
could you not throw it into the freezer to keep it fresh?
The issue really is going to be the sugar that's on it. Like if you don't mind that the sugar will probably get condensation and it'll get sort of frosting-ish. See, these are, that was too
But
hot.
sometimes you could put icing instead of frosting, right?
You could dip it in a glaze, you could dip it in chocolate, for sure. Those are all great options.
I do want to plug a program that's coming up in January, because I think it might be a similar technique. But we're doing a Montreal bagel workshop with a food historian from Montreal. So she's going to show us how to make Montreal bagels, tell us a little bit about the history of Montreal bagels and how they compare to bagels in Toronto. So join us for that. That is Sunday, January the 15th at 11 a.m. Originally, I wanted it in the synagogue and I wanted us to have a taste test of all these different bagels, but it's hard to find good kosher bagels, right?
Bagel not kosher?
Well, I don't think Greif's is, or Bagel World, like that's my favorite bagels. Because I'm a Torontonian, but I know those who are from Montreal, like they swear by the Montreal bagels and that's all they eat, which I find them a little too sweet, but we'll hear the history about bagels. So yeah, sign up for that. That's on our website. But Ellie, thank you so much. for doing that. We miss you, and it was a great program, and we look forward to more cooking with you. You really are an inspiration, and when you do it, you make it look easy. So
Thank you so much, everybody. If you make it, send me an email. I want to see how it turned out. And thank you everyone for joining me. This was such a nice change from lying in bed and watching Netflix.
yeah, isn't the Harry and Meghan thing on today?
Oh,
The
guys,
doc-
that's as soon as I clean up, that's what I'm watching. I'm on episode 2 already. Charlie is fascinated by Megxit.
There you go.
She's very invested.
If people want to unmute and say something, feel free.
Yes, and I will be emailing the recipe to everyone. I'm going to eat this in front of you.
Yes, we'll email the recipe, and we can email the recording as well, so you can watch along and bake. Oh, that looks so good. I'm so jealous.
It's so good, guys.
Hey,
Nothing
thanks for a great
more, but it's
program.
really- Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Good to see you.
You got us into the
Thank you.
holiday mood.
What,
I was-
Orly?
I was just saying, you got us into the holiday mood now.
That's right. I can't believe Hanukkah's like next week already.
Season, everyone.
Remember to come to the Hanukkah party at the shul. We'll have more donuts.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.